lot of things to take a look at in this movie, and I'm willing to bet there are a few things you picked up that I didn't, and I can't wait to hear what they are. Welcome to Copper Shock, where we are horror obsessed. My name is Tasha Wheelhouse, and today we're going to talk about the 2016 thriller American Fable. This film had a lot of interesting symbology in it that I wasn't expecting when I watched it. The thesis statement of this film to me is captivity is about perspective of self. There's also like literal captivity stuff that happens in this film too, though. There is that. This film drives an interesting way in how it reinforces anecdotal short stories to support this theory of captivity. The film also dives into strange scenes that are more dreamlike and mystical, and when Anne Hamilton, the director of this film, was directly asked, like, what do these abstract things mean? She purposefully sidestepped the question to say, I'd rather that you come up with the interpretation of what that means to you or what meaning you got out of it. So great, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. The first thing I want to talk about is its name, American Fable, as a title. Fable, to me, sends out resonance of it's ancient and it's Grimm's fairy tales and it's European and it's thousands of years old, or an old Nordic story that's been orally passed down through generations. America as a country hasn't been recognized as an organized nation until 1776, 200-ish and change years. Pairing the word fable with the word American brings a strangeness and mysticism into a setting of Madison, Wisconsin, of all places. This is during a measure of history when magic is long since forgotten as a way to explain the world. Fable as a story term often carries simple structure. It's meant for children. It's meant to teach peril or a moral guidance of how something should be approached, and behavior is sometimes mixed with magic. What's also very interesting about this film is most of it is told from this young girl's perspective, this girl named Giddy. As fables highlight moral dilemmas, what's the moral dilemma that Giddy is going to face in this film? Giddy as a child begins to question and challenge her own morals as her own personal beliefs and not leaning on that of her family, which we all do as kids. But then as you get older, you start to adopt new beliefs, and that's part of Giddy's growing up. For example, Giddy is told by the family that the man in the silo is a bad person. However, the man in the silo is the nicest person to her in the entirety of the movie. Giddy is also lied to by her father, someone she trusts deeply. He lies about the fact that they are in dire straits over the debt of their farm. There's a moment in the film where Giddy feels empathy toward a woman on television leading through the news, which is presumably the wife of the guy who was kidnapped, to let him go home, but Giddy feels badly for that woman. Her brother asks her to dismiss her feelings of compassion and replace it with anger. There is a pivotal scene where all of the family members, except for Giddy, are going to a secret meeting with this mystery woman who has colluded with all of them to kidnap this man. It is revealed how morally corrupted this family is by their compounding decisions, and all of these choices are not being made from a space of evil. In fact, they're made from desperation. Giddy's father decides that he's going to participate in this kidnapping and ransom money in order to save the family farm. Giddy's mother, when everything is finally revealed to her, she's desperate to try and hold on to her semblance of life because she's pregnant. The big brother also has his own form of desperation too, because he wants to be seen as a man. The more compassion that Giddy feels for the man, the more dissonant her emotional connection is with the rest of her family. She naturally becomes more confident in herself when she speaks to her big threatening brother. She has less of a dependency on her father and her mother who coddle her from her childhood. And all of this comes to a head at the very end of the film when Giddy has to make an actual stand against her family in order to help set the man free. One of the strongest allegories that surfaced for me in this story was that of the lion and the mouse. She asks him outright, do you know any stories? Because she loves hearing stories. And the man, kidnapped in the silo, desperately thinking about it, says, have you heard the one about the lion and the mouse? And Giddy says no. Then the guy starts to tell the story, but then realizes halfway through he cannot remember the ending to it. Later in the film, Giddy goes to her father and says, hey dad, what's the story of the lion and the mouse? The funny thing is I was listening to dad tell his version of this story. It's a little different than the one that I grew up with as a kid. This is the story of the lion and the mouse that I knew. One day, a lion is sleeping, and a mouse goes up to play in the lion's mane. It wakes up the lion pins down the mouse. Please let me go. I will give you something in return one day. I promise, I have value. And the lion seriously doubts it, but he lets the mouse go. That evening, the lion is caught in a trap in a hunter's net, and the mouse comes by and he sees the pinned lion, and the lion begs the mouse for help. So the mouse starts chewing on the ropes, and he chews all night, and he sets the lion free, and they part as friends. That's the story I grew up with. Do you want to hear the one Daddy Dearest told Giddy? The lion is already in the net, and the mouse is walking by, and the lion begs the mouse for for help, and the mouse starts chewing the ropes and it sets the lion free. But the moment the lion is free, the lion kills the mouse and kills his whole family nearby. Why would you tell a story like that to a child? But that's the thing. It's indicative of where his mindset is of his situation as a father. He believes that he is a mouse, that if he were to ever help a lion, the lion would just as soon as kill him. What's also interesting about this allegory, the man in the silo is representative of a lion. He tells Giddy that he's a very important man, that he could give her anything she wanted. But here's the other key part. Giddy directly asks the man in the silo, "Are you a bad person, and is that why you're locked in here?" And he answers honestly, "No, Giddy, I'm a good person. I believe I am a very good person." Which means that while father believes that he is a mouse, that if he helps a lion, it'll kill him, the man in the silo, while he believes he is a lion, also believes that he's the sort of lion who would let the mouse free. The interesting part for all of this is the ending. For me, when I put this allegory into a focus, it's left on a cliffhanger because the lion does return to the home of all the mice. He comes back to visit Giddy, but it's unclear if he's there as a friend to give clemency because of Giddy's bravery and kindness, or if he's there to take everything with absolute vengeance. My belief is because the man identifies a good lion with this other version of the fable where he'd let the mouse go, I like to think that that is the version that happened. Here's another symbology that I'm a little fuzzy on, and I'd love to get your input, so please comment below if you've got thoughts about this. Why is the character Vera portrayed as Pan, the Greek god Pan? Giddy has nightmares and even day visions of this dark rider who has ram horns coming out of their head. Anne Hamilton, the director of this film, did comment a little bit about what this symbology is, which are signs that Giddy is growing up. Pan was once a Greek god that was worshipped for its ability of husbandry, often worshipped in grottos, and the resurgence of Pan being written into children's stories in the early 1900s reflected into other classic works that we do know and love today. The character Mr. Tumnus in Chronicles of Narnia, he's got a lot of attributes that are pretty similar to the Pan. While Pan as a figurehead in stories can be seen as a guide or a friend, Pan can also be seen as somebody with a lot of chaos. That's what Vera brings into Giddy's simple world. Vera is able to manipulate everyone in the family, but Giddy. In conclusion, I did find this film to be really quite pleasant. It was very sweet, very cute. So let's go through all of the ratings. The thriller factor of 1 to 10. It's like a 5, but it's this gentle, wandering tale of a story, which is, kind of what you'd expect a fairy tale or a fable to do. So if you want to show this to your teenage daughter, your tweener daughter at 12 or 11, I think they'd really enjoy it. The gore rating, it's like a 2, but most of the gore here is masked or done off screen. Storytelling 1 to 10, it's a 9. This is really quite adorable as a movie and very original as a script. I really enjoyed the world that they created, and I also enjoyed the perspective in which they told the story. Production value 1 to 10, we're gonna go with a 7. This was a fun independent film. I thought they made fantastic use of a lower budget that resulted in this big fantastical world that is then compared to this realism and this beauty of simply balanced shots. Special effects 1 to 10, it's a 4. I mean, the effects weren't terrible, but it is an independent film, so you gotta give it a little bit of grace. Sometimes special effects are a huge major factor for horror films. It's a labor of love film. In closing, what did you think of American Fable? Tell me what were attributes of the story that you loved. Maybe there were things that you disagreed with or wanted to see done differently. I would love to hear all of those comments. Please tell me down below this video. I did create a full summary of what this film is. If you're interested in watching that, I will have a link somewhere on the screen for you to take a look at it. And in the meantime, I will see you in the next video. Please subscribe. Bye.